Hi, I'm attorney Ben Schwartz, and we're live today. I'm going to stream this video live for you. This happens to be the first time that we've done live video on our Schwartz & Schwartz Facebook feed, so if you like it, let us know. Today what I want to talk about is a News Journal article called Millennials, Boomers, Fuel Apartment Construction Uptick. And basically the News Journal published the article, Delaware Online published the article. It was written by Xerxes Wilson. It's a very good article, published March 20, 2016. And in the show notes at schwartzandschwartz.com, we'll put a link to the article so you can read it if you like. But essentially what the article is saying is that with so many millennials coming into Newcastle County, coming into work in the banks, credit card industry, and other the emerging science industry in Wilmington, Delaware, there's an uptick in apartments. So basically, it cites a statistic that there were 262,000 residents of the first state who rented their home in 2014. I guess there's not really current data for 2016. Seeing as how we're just at the beginning of 2016, oftentimes you don't get the previous year's data early on in the following year. But for 2014, there were 262,000 residents living in apartments, and 209,000 in 2008. That's quite an uptick. That's a pretty sharp increase in the number of apartment dwellers. What I want to share is not that there's an apartment boom, but I want to share my perspective because I'm not an apartment lawyer, I'm a personal injury lawyer. And the types of personal injury cases that we see coming from people who live in apartments are very unique. They're different from the types of personal injury cases that we see that are coming from people who live in their own homes. And I have to say that if you really want my opinion, the increase in the number of people living in apartments is not a good thing for Delaware. It's not a good thing because it's not a good thing for the courts, it's not a good thing for insurance companies, or for regular people, or for attorneys even, really, because what you're going to see is you're going to see an increase in the number of personal injury claims. We see a number of different types of claims that come from apartments and apartment complexes. Just off the top of my head, I can think of a whole bunch of different types of cases that I've seen recently. I've seen cases where people get injured because of faulty equipment, faulty gym equipment. Oftentimes, one of the things that new apartment complexes will get is they'll get their own gyms, because that's one of the things that attracts young people to come and live in those apartments. Those small apartment gyms, those small private gyms, often are not properly supervised. Oftentimes they outsource the maintenance of the equipment to other companies, and they're not done by the apartment landlord themselves. And oftentimes people get injured on the equipment because the equipment's faulty. So that's one type of case I've seen. We see a lot of slip and fall cases in apartment complexes. The reason for that, oftentimes is because the apartment complex outsources the maintenance, the snow removal, the ice removal, the salting and shoveling and plowing. They outsource it to some other company, and they don't do a good job, and then people slip and fall on ice and get injured, and we see those cases. We see slip and fall cases in apartment complex, from construction defects, and when you see an article like this, it tells you there's a significant uptick, or there's a significant boom in the number of apartments that are being built and the number of people that are living in apartments. That indicates to me that you're going to have quickly built apartment complexes to handle that extra volume. And when you have quickly done construction, what ends up happening is you end up having construction defects. And people get injured as a result of construction defects. Some other types of things that we see in apartment complex injury claims are inadequate security claims. So, for instance, we've seen cases where someone is the victim of a crime, and the crime is completely foreseeable, completely preventable, but the landlord didn't do anything to create a secure situation within the apartment complex. Perhaps they didn't have adequate barrier to keep the bad guys out. Perhaps they didn't have adequate lighting so that people could see what was going on in a particular place. Perhaps they could have had video cameras, but they didn't. Perhaps they should have posted a guard, and they didn't, or a doorman. So oftentimes there are inadequate security problems with apartment complexes. So I think that the takeaway from this is not that apartments are bad or landlords are bad, but I think it's my concern as an attorney who sees a good volume of personal injury cases on a day-to-day basis. It's my concern that when you see an uptick in the number of apartments, you're also going to see an uptick in the number of personal injury claims that are related to apartments. And so if you're living in an apartment, I think you should be involved in your apartment community, even though you don't own the home. It's your place, and you should feel like an owner in your home. You should be involved in the community. If you see something wrong, you should tell the landlord, and you should take an interest in your community. And if you have a problem with the apartment complex or the landlord or the way things are being done, or if you get injured in an apartment complex, we'd like to hear from you at Schwartz & Schwartz. Again, my name is Ben Schwartz. My email is ben.schwartz@schwartzandschwartz.com. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I appreciate you taking the time to view it. I appreciate any comments that you have or concerns that you have. Please feel free to contact me. Have a great day.